Lori here with the Art Archaeologist channel, and today I want to show you some papers I made that are watercolor and distress oxides mixed together. So I want to talk about Nina Ribena for a minute. She has a channel on here, and I believe her channel is Nina Ribena, and she did a video with these watercolors, and I really love her artwork. And these watercolors, it looked like such a good set to me from her video that I went ahead and got one, and I got mine on eBay, and it's got 36 colors in this particular set here, and you get a little, it's kind of a weird little column palette, but it definitely is indented so that you can use this for a palette. And then here's the cover of it, and these are from Japan. Focus camera, there we go. And it's called Kuretake is the brand of these watercolors. So I used these, and I used my distress oxides, and I just played. So I'm going to show you, do a quick flip through of the ones I've done, and then we'll do one together so I can show you how I did it, okay? So I used two separate kinds of paper. I used Canson mixed media paper, 7 by 10 inch, and then I used Strathmore watercolor paper, and I think these are, I cut these down. I think these were 11 by 14, so they're 8.5 by 11 now. And I love the results on both, but the Strathmore watercolor paper has a texture to it, and so that definitely plays into your artwork. This one, I did a bunch of watercolor drips, and then I just painted in some veins, and I think it's really cool. I think it looks like a dark mystical forest. So I just got a little off into left field with this one. Now these I didn't get wild with. I just went ahead and did the mix because I wanted to see how they worked together. So I got this one, and these are all, of course, the Strathmore, and then I'll show you the others. And they came out, I'm very happy with the results, but this paper is extremely thick. And the Canson mixed, or the Canson mixed media is a flimsier paper without the texture. I did a few more drips on this one here. So there's those. Now let me show you these. These are the mixed media pages. Now this one I did not. I just left this one plain, and I painted on it and did the distress oxides on it. And then these ones I crumpled up, and I'll show you exactly how I got this result. I wanted to have more of the color on the creases, which didn't necessarily happen, but I still really like the results. There's that one. Here's a different one. When I ironed these, they did not come out completely flat, which was a little frustrating to me, and I could probably hit it a little harder and get them a little bit flatter, but I'm still happy with them being crinkled even, so it's okay with me. I really love these greens and browns. This is, oh, I wrote on some of them and then forgot. I have a tendency to do that. But this is definitely vintage photo, black soot, and peeled paint in the way of the distress oxides. And then I added burnt sienna from the watercolor and some green to this. This one's okay. It's not my favorite, but it's still nice. I like this one a lot. This one came out neat. This one's with fired brick, spiced marmalade, and fossilized amber distress oxides. And then I just did, this is strictly distress oxides actually. I didn't add any watercolor to that one. And then this one I really love, and this is faded blue jeans, distress oxide, black soot, fossilized amber, peeled paint, and then I added drops of bright yellow watercolor to this one. And I'm really ecstatic for the most part of the results I got. So now that you've seen all those, give me a couple moments and I will be right back to show you how I did it. Okay, I'm back. So what you're going to want to do, let me back you up a little, is you're definitely going to want to wet this with a squirt bottle. I just sprayed this with my squirt bottle and then crumpled it up and then flattened it out while it was wet, because if you do it dry, you run the risk of tearing this paper. So I'm going to use Distress Oxides Vintage Photo, Faded Jeans, and Broken China on this one. I have not decided what colors I'm going to use out of my watercolor set yet. And then you're going to need a heat gun if you want to make a lot of these all at once. So I'm just using my little embossing heat gun here from Paper Studio. Hobby Lobby. So what I do is I just take the first pad and I rub it on the paper and it catches on all of that, all those folds. And then make sure my oxides are out of the way. I go ahead and give this a nice squirt. I don't want it too soaked, but I want it wet enough to activate it. I keep going backwards, I apologize. Okay, and then I'm going to dry this and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is slightly damp, but there's no puddles or anything on it. And then I'm going to take some broken china. Actually, I'm going to take both of these. I'll start with the broken china. And I like to take a paper towel and work a little of this and put this on here so I can keep my hands kind of clean. And then I'm just going to rub in this broken china here and there. And I want to shake it up a little bit because I want to cover the rest of it with the vintage photo. I hope I didn't shake you. If I did, I apologize. I am shaking the table. This is a shaky technique. Excuse me. Okay, so there's some broken china on there, and isn't that beautiful already? I've got my vintage photo, and I'm just gonna go in and hit where I didn't get the broken china. I want this pretty much covered. You can definitely leave white areas if that's your preference. And see, it's really starting to come together beautifully. I will finish this and be right back. Okay, so I got all the color on here, and I did leave a few little areas white. And then again, you just spray this down. Pretty wet. And you can mop up any puddles with your, that get to be way too much if you do that like I do. So I've got this pretty wet, and now I'm just going to take my round brush, my round watercolor brush, and I'm going to grab some, I think since I've got, with the mixture of these, I'm starting to get some greens in here. I think I will add maybe a little green. Let me see what I've got here. And I just want to touch the wet areas on here and just get some color in here. And Nina Ribena did this with one of her videos, and I will look it up and put it in the description below. And she just does some really fun stuff. I really enjoy watching her videos. Okay, now I'm going to clean that green off entirely. And I'm going to go in and get some, I really love this burnt sienna color. I've got this burnt sienna, and then I just used number 56, which is forest green. I'll be back. Okay, I have nowhere to film that's away from my dogs, so it ends up being a real shot in the dark as to whether or not I can film without a bark fest. So now I'm just adding the burnt sienna. And I love this color. I just scraped it. Now I'm seeing the bottom of it, and I'm kind of disappointed. See what I mean? Seeing the bottom of this color now, and that makes me sad. Okay, so this is what I've ended up with now, and it's pretty blotchy, so I'm going to clean that off entirely. And I'm going to come in with a wet brush and go ahead and move this color around and let it kind of travel a bit here and there. The creases in the paper definitely tend to create puddles with this technique. Okay, so once you get to this point, you've got a nice layer of distress oxides, and then you have a nice layer of watercolor on top, and then this will all need to be completely dried again, so I will do that and be right back. I went ahead and put a piece of white under this to show you, well, relatively white. I mess up all my stuff against my will. Okay, so this now is dry with all the watercolor on it, and you don't see real bright spots of the green like you do the burnt sienna, and that's because I did mop some of it up. So you can definitely leave those puddles and they will dry with more color. If you mop it up with a paper towel while it's wet, it's going to take a lot of the pigment away. So I am actually really happy with the way this came out already, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to continue on with this piece. And you know, one of the constant things as an artist that you come up against is, when do you know it's done? Well, all I can say about that is I know it's done when I'm happy with it. And I have also trained myself to be happy sooner rather than later. I've spoken in earlier videos about suffering from perfectionism-itis. And I've really come a long way with that. So I don't work things too much, but at the same time, you know, layers are magic. And I try to stay under 8 layers with anything, but these you only need 3 or 4 to have a finished, beautiful product. And look at this. This is only 2 layers right here, and you have a finished, beautiful project that just needs to be ironed. So, you know, when you're happy with it is when it's done. I'm going to go back in. I really love the blues and greens, but I want to tone a little bit of that down with the vintage photo. So I'm just going to go back in. And I want to focus on hitting the watercolor and the Distress Oxides underneath, because this is how I'm going to get all that magical things that the Distress Oxides do. You have to hit over top so that when I spray this, it'll react. I don't want to shake you, but if I stop, then you can't see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna do my best not to shake you. Sounds like we got a bark fest coming here. I have these two angels and they just love to play with each other loudly. And it's coming. Okay, so look, I've really toned this piece down quite a bit just with that little bit of vintage photo. And I'm really enjoying this color scheme, so I'm going to stop there. You definitely want a layer of the Distress Oxides over top of the two bottom layers. You really do need a minimum of 3 layers to make this technique work, so that's a definite given. And then you want to, I have this squirt bottle, you know, a lot of the people have the Tim Holtz squirt bottle. I just got this at the Dollar Tree. And if I squirt it really slow, I can get the bigger drops, and then I can speed up my squirt and get the smaller ones. And I only had to pay $1. So I'm going to dry this, and what I want to do is leave these puddles, because if I dab it with a paper towel, it's going to wipe off the top layer and the layers underneath, because everything on here is water activated. So what I want to do is I want to get some of those cauliflower color excursions on the paper. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now, excursions. So let me dry this and I'll be back. So here it is all dry, and I have to say, I'm losing my daylight. Please forgive me, and I'm so grateful for you sticking with me. I've got a new video set up that I'm almost got complete. I just have to go buy a couple more lights, and then daylight won't be an issue for me anymore. But anyway, now this turned out to be absolutely my favorite one I've done so far. So now I've got it all dried, and it's hard to see, but what happens is it activates the oxides and gives you those beautiful little dots. Now I wanted to show you real quick. I'm going to iron it so that you can see what it looks like ironed. I just have this old piece of fabric. It's like an old tablecloth, and it's thick. It's like a thick canvas kind of material. And then I've got one of my watercolor sheets, this one turned upside down. And then I'm going to take this, since this is all water activated, I don't want to hit it with my iron on top, so I'm going to flip it upside down. And then I'm going to just squirt it a little bit on the bottom and hit it with my iron, and I'm going to get it as smooth as I can, as quick as I can, just to show you the detail on the front. I am setting up an Etsy store, and I am figuring out how to do digital kits, and this will be a digital kit. So once I figure it all out, you will be able to buy this on my Etsy store. I'm just technologically challenged, and I'm very close to having it all figured out. I swear I have a learning disability. I hear things like opposite of how they're said. I don't know what that's about, but that's what happens. Okay, and then see, you will get a little bit of stuff just because it's all water activated. So, oh my goodness, here, I'm going to give you a close-up. Look at how pretty that is. I'll move it over here and let the camera focus. This is absolutely my favorite one so far. So you can get some incredible backgrounds really fast, really fast. And what I'm going to do to use these for my journal pages, since this is water activated, look at how pretty this is up here. Look at how, I just love it. Since this is water activated and I would like for it to be a journal page, I'm going to, what I will do is scan this, and then I will make prints of this on paper. I'll make prints of it on cardstock for pockets, and then I'll make prints of it on regular copy paper for journal pages. And this size is smaller. It is 7 by 10, so I'll just cut off the edges of the regular copy paper. But that's how simple it is to get these gorgeous backgrounds. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the descriptions below, and I will answer them as soon as I can. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you next time.